Having the ability to communicate effectively is one of the most important skills to possess on the road to success. Fully 85% of your success in life will be determined by how you interact with other people. Communication is the master skill to powerful relationships. And here are the basic rules. Your ability to communicate with others will account for most of your success and will open every door for you. Even people who are in technical fields, such as computer programmers and engineers, spend as much as 75% of their time interacting with other people. All the successes in life come from good communication that cause people to like you and trust you and want to be involved with you. All the top executives who've been interviewed have said that their ability to communicate well with others is more responsible for their success than anything else. And wonderfully enough, how to communicate is a learned skill set. You can get better and better by learning what the best communicators do and practicing it until it becomes a regular part of your repertoire. Fortunately, since effective communication is a learned skill, sharpening your ability will only lead you to greater and greater heights of success. All successful people are excellent communicators. In fact, the work at Harvard University on multiple intelligences concluded that social intelligence, the ability to interact well with others, is the highest paid and most respected intelligence in our society. So how do you communicate more effectively with others? My favorite word in communications is the word clarity. Almost all of our problems in life become because of lack of clarity. We say things, but they don't come out clearly. So in order to be clear, first of all, stop, and then think, and then proceed slowly. Another great word is to rephrase or repeat something. Let's say you say something and somebody goes, huh? Or it's clear that they didn't get the message. I speak different languages, French, German, Spanish, and I'm busy working on learning Russian and Chinese now. And one of the things I learned in languages is if you say something in your limited language and they don't seem to understand it, rephrase it and say it again. And if they don't understand it, rephrase it and say it again until people go, ha, now I understand. So effective communication starts with you being very clear in your own mind about what you want to say, and then being very clear when you say it, and then saying it slowly and patiently and making sure that the other person hears the message that you sent. You can imagine in communications that here is you and you want to communicate with this person. And so you send a message, almost like a message by telephone or by a carrier pigeon. You send a message into the air in the form of words. These words are then received by the other person, who then interprets the words in their own mind based on their own thoughts, feelings, whether they're paying attention, and so on, and then reformulates or formulates a response and sends the response back. You then receive the response, translate that into meaning and significance, and then you send it back. Between these two responses, there's what are called noise. Noise can be physical noise, outside, around, mechanics, trucks, and so on. But it can also be internal noise. The person can be hungry or distracted. It can be emotional noise. The person can be unhappy or excited. The person can have other noise in that they are interpreting what you say in a different way. So if you think about this, communications requires sending the message and having it received and checking, and then sending the message back and having it received, and then checking, and simply going slowly. So it's better to be sure at every stage of the transaction that people are sending and receiving with tremendous clarity. And here's my favorite question of all. When somebody says something that you're not really sure about, say, how do you mean, or how do you mean exactly? And they will always expand on what they just said and make it clearer for you and easier for you to understand and to respond effectively. Do you know the one key to becoming a great conversationalist? The key is to pause before replying. A short pause of 3 to 5 seconds after a person stops talking is a very classy thing to do in a conversation. When you pause, you accomplish 3 goals simultaneously. First, you avoid running the risk of interrupting if the other person is just catching his or her breath before continuing. The second benefit is that you show the other person that you are giving careful consideration to his or her words by not jumping in with your own comments at the earliest opportunity. The third benefit of pausing in conversation is that you will actually hear the other person better. His or her words will soak into a deeper level of your mind, and you will understand what he or she is really saying with greater clarity. By pausing, you mark yourself as a brilliant conversationalist. Another way to become a great conversationalist is to question for clarification. Never assume that you understand what the other person is saying or trying to say. Instead, if you have any doubt at all, ask, "How do you mean?" Or, "How do you mean exactly?" And then just pause and wait. This is the most powerful question I've ever learned for guiding and controlling a conversation. It's almost impossible not to answer this question. When you ask, "How do you mean?" the other person cannot stop himself or herself from answering more extensively. You can then follow up with other open-ended questions and keep the conversation rolling along. The third way to become a great conversationalist is for you to paraphrase the speaker's words in your own words. So after you've nodded and smiled, you can then say, "Well, let me see if I got this right," or "Let me see if I understand you exactly. What you're saying is this," and then you repeat it back in your own words. By paraphrasing the speaker's words, you demonstrate in no uncertain terms that you are genuinely paying attention and making every effort to understand his or her thoughts or feelings. And the wonderful thing is, when you practice effective listening, other people will begin to find you fascinating. They will want to be around you. They will feel relaxed and happy in your presence because when you listen to other people, you make them feel important. The reason why listening is such a powerful tool in developing the art and skill of conversation is because listening builds trust. The more you listen to another person, the more he or she trusts you and believes in you. Listening also builds self-esteem. When you listen attentively to another person, his or her self-esteem will naturally increase. He or she will feel better about themselves. He or she will feel more valuable and more respected. Finally, listening builds self-esteem in the listener. Because your mind can process words at 500 to 600 words per minute, and we can only talk at about 150 words per minute, it takes real effort to keep your attention focused on another person's words. If you do not practice self-discipline in conversation, your mind will wander in 100 different directions. The more you work at paying close attention to what the other person is saying, the more self-disciplined you will become. In other words, by learning to listen well, you actually develop your own character and your own personality. A good relationship is characterized by open and honest communication between the two people. Fortunately, you can learn how to be a great communicator by practicing telling the other person exactly how you are thinking and feeling on a regular and ongoing basis. Refuse to hold anything back. Refuse to gunny sack or to repress your natural spontaneity. If you have a concern, a problem, a question, or anything else, be open and honest and clear about it with the other person. In any relationship, because the two people are different in so many ways, there will always be misunderstandings and miscommunications. Your job, however, is to clear these up the way you would clear the kitchen after every meal on an ongoing basis. Never let them accumulate and build up. One key to open and honest communications is for you to never expect the other person to read your mind. It's just not fair to expect him or her to just know what it is you are thinking and feeling. This is simply not possible for other people, especially since your thinking and feeling is changing with every new event or stimulus in your environment. You can't even keep up with it. Be sure to tell the other person what you expect and what you're concerned about. Never have any secrets from the other person. Never keep the other person guessing or wondering about what is really going on in your mind. This can lead to all kinds of misunderstandings if you are not open and clear on a regular basis. When you communicate, pick your timing carefully. Timing can be everything in making yourself heard and getting your point across. Wait until the other person is in a position where he or she can fully listen and understand what you are saying, rather than jumping or dumping on him or her at the end of a busy day or in the midst of a lot of activity or confusion. Timing is very important if you are unhappy for any reason. Instead of expressing your concerns as an attack, instead you should say something like, "You know, when you do such and such a thing, I feel such and such a way." That's taking responsibility for your own feelings. For example, you could say, "You know, when you come home late without calling, I feel that you don't really care about the inconvenience that it causes me," and then remain completely silent. When you offer your concern as a personal observation and explain how you feel about it, you'll be absolutely amazed at how quickly the other person will respond positively to change his or her behavior and to make sure that you're happy. One of the keys to staying in love forever is always to be open and honest and express yourself and your concerns in a positive and constructive way. Always deal with issues as they come up so that you can resolve them and get on with the rest of your life. Don't let issues accumulate. When you speak, your voice is your most important tool. Fortunately, you can learn to use your voice like playing a musical instrument to increase your power and persuasiveness in any conversation or speech that you give. Tip number 1 is to slow down. When you speak more slowly, your voice has more power and authority. Your listeners have an opportunity to absorb and reflect on what you're saying. You exude confidence. You lend your words greater importance. All powerful people speak slowly, enunciate clearly, and express themselves with confidence. Loud, confident speaking is powerful and moving. When you speak too rapidly, your pitch increases, often to something squeaky and childlike. Thus, the impact of your words and your influence on the audience both decrease, because listeners downgrade the importance or value of what the speaker is saying when the speaker speaks too quickly. Number 2, build vocal power. The human voice is like a muscle. It can be made stronger with exercise and use. Many people with weak voices have become powerful, confident speakers by building their voices over time with exercise. Here's an example. Memorize a piece of poetry and recite it regularly as you drive or walk around. Imagine that you're making a dramatic presentation on a stage in front of a large number of people. Put emotion and strength and emphasis and energy into the words. Go slowly. Change the emphasis on each word in the line of poetry and then thereby change the meaning of the line. Tip number 3 is record and listen to your voice. As you develop your ability to speak powerfully, record yourself reading poetry or parts of plays. Replay these recordings over and over, looking for ways to improve your pronunciation, your delivery, and your pacing. Tip number 4, record phone conversations. You can increase your level of vocal mastery by recording your side of conversations and listening to them afterwards. Every time you record and play back your own voice, you will hear different ways that you could improve your delivery and articulation next time. Tip number 5, focus on pauses. The drama and power of a speech is contained in the silences that you create as you move from point to point. There are 4 kinds of pauses you can use to put more power into your presentations. They are the sense pause, the dramatic pause, the emphatic pause, and the sentence completion pause. Tip number 6, eat and drink well. Energy is essential for good speaking and voice projection. Before a short talk, eat lightly. This ensures that you are bright and alert when you start speaking and that your brain is functioning at its best. Before a long talk, it's essential to eat well. A solid, high-protein breakfast or lunch will give you energy to burn for 4 to 5 hours. Protein is brain food, and you need it to think and speak effectively. Your voice will remain strong and your mind will stay clear. To ensure the best possible voice, only drink room temperature water prior to and during your speech. Cold water can chill your vocal cords and decrease the amount of warmth in your voice. When you have a sore throat, it can be difficult to speak clearly and project that voice. If this occurs, drink hot water with lots of honey and lemon juice. This miraculous combination has saved me on several occasions. Preparation is essential to your ability to deliver a powerful speech.